Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm very excited. This is my friend Peter Stanford, and I think we're going to devote most of our time today to the films of Peter Greenaway, but just a little bit of backstory. You and I met at a gig in Leicestershire one fateful Halloween. Do you want to tell us about that?
We were in this very strange party. I think we're all sworn to silence actually, but never mind.
Yeah.
And you were being a priest and I was...
What was your role?
Well, there are all these young ladies in cheerleader outfits, and it's a car wash, and these slimy southern gentlemen said come round the back, and all our staff are wearing their underwear.
And that was you?
And so when they came round the back, you've given away the punchline now, when they came round the back they found not cheerleaders in underwear, but me, another fat man, in our boxes cleaning the car.
I had no idea that was your role. It was a very rich man's party.
It's a good job that I'm here, really, or he wouldn't have known that. That's
true. Well, yeah, no, it's... And another thing too that it was a private party.
It was a private party, a very expensive private party with a rodeo in the middle.
And it was the man who owned Carphone Warehouse.
I believe so.
And every Halloween, apparently, he has a big themed party. And his theme that year, was it 2 years ago, I think? Was
before Trump was elected, certainly.
Before Trump was elected, and he wanted a hillbilly themed night.
That's
and
right,
I was the only American. What he wanted was a roving band of actors, which was us.
Yeah.
To give it sort of a hillbilly theme, and it was a very... Somebody who comes from Missouri, I found it very insulting. Actually, I think most of the women were insulted that night, weren't they?
I don't know. I had the only ones I met with the cheerleaders.
Okay. And do you like the cheerleaders?
Well, we were stuck together on the side.
Okay.
In the equivalent of a changing room. We were chatting away together.
And you also make an appearance in the Red, White, and Blake film.
This is true.
And we credit you as the Venerable Bede.
Thank you.
Because we asked people, if you haven't seen the film, there's a sequence in which we asked people who is their British hero. English. Was that say English or British? Because Albion's Britain, I think.
Albion's England.
You think Albion's... Well, Albion is England, but William Blake's conception.
Yes, okay.
Now, yours was Bede. Why Bede?
Well, I thought if I say anyone at all, some clever clogs would jump up and say, oh, he had a great-grandfather who was French, you know. Mm-hmm. So I thought somebody who definitely was English, the Venerable Bede. Sure, and of course, the Venerable Bede is the only Englishman who is named in heaven by Dante.
Is that right? So in Dante's... Paradiso.
In Dante's Paradise, and yes, he's the only Englishman named in Paradise.
That's amazing. The Venerable Bede, and from what I understand, the first English historian as well. Was that stretching the truth?
That's stretching the truth. There were others.
A Northumbrian, wasn't he?
He was Northumbrian. He was. Do I mean Jarrow?
Jarrow. That's it. Yeah.
I might mean Jarrow.
I think you're right. I think he is Jarrow.
But there were early ones like Cuthbert. But
now, just to plug this, do you want to plug it? Do you want to plug anything? Do you have anything to plug?
I'm fine to plug, as far as I know.
We're at, if I want to plug patreon.com/Will Franken. Yesterday's interview was with my Irish friend Frank. He told some dirty jokes and some stories from way back when, and now we're going to elevate the discourse. We're at St. Mary's something. This is very near St. Paul's.
In the city.
It's a lovely little church that apparently you can just go in and drink tea and... get the beautiful symmetry of the old school churches. Now, you mentioned in our first meeting that you were, this rarest of things that you hear nowadays, a Christian.
I am a Christian.
You are a Christian. Now, how do you define that? What does it mean to be a Christian?
Well,
according to Peter Stanford.
I am very much of the Judge Not school of Christianity.
Okay, so I like the judging.
Yeah, well,
I'm taking it this.
You're from the deep south.
Yeah. So the Judge Not.
Yes, Judge Not. So yes. I'm Church of England, which, as we all know, is an appalling political compromise, or sounded by a political compromise. And basically, in our church, you're
talking about Henry VIII.
Well, originally, yes. But in our actual church, we say that anyone who is a full member of their own Christian church can come take communion at ours.
And I have done many times.
Have you? You've been to our church? You've heard me sing?
Not you specifically. I've been to the Anglican services.
Oh yes, that's the Anglican.
Are you high Anglican?
I never thought so, because I used to go when I was really, really high, but we have bells and smells and choral and floral.
So are you a C.S. Lewis fan?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, I think his common sense spirituality, mere Christianity, Screw Tape Letters especially, I've mentioned it on these videos numerous times, the the idea of the devil being a series of thoughts rather than a person with a pitchfork.
The Screwtape Letters is a spectacularly Anglican idea of the devil. When he talks about religious conflict as being whether you have candles on the altar or not, which is that's an argument between two branches of Church of England.
And from what I remember,
not even Catholics and Protestants.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't read the Screwtape Letters, it's a dialogue between an uncle demon who's in hell and his nephew demon who's on earth about how best to attempt to claim a man's soul. You mentioned the story of the candles. So he basically, would you not say that the devil then basically wants people to bicker about religious minutiae in order to take them away from the faith?
He does, and then it's the senior devil is training the junior devil how best to tempt this. And it's
Wormwood and who else?
Wormwood. Screwtape is the senior devil. Wormwood is the old one.
That's right.
Is the younger one.
Okay.
And it's all set at the time of the Second World War, where things were very different.
Did you know Tolkien was apparently, because Tolkien was responsible for converting?
They were the Inklings. There's Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and somebody else who I can't remember. You should have little subtitles at the bottom there to say who it is.
Yeah.
And they used to meet in my old pub in Oxford, the Burton Bastards, the Eagle and Child. And
Tolkien's Lewis
and the other one, the Inklings, yes.
Yeah.
And they would translate because their jobs were translating medieval English.
Translating medieval English.
Yes,
okay,
they were scholars.
And Tolkien was responsible for converting Lewis to Christianity. I heard, and that he was disappointed that Lewis didn't become Catholic, but Anglican.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Bit of scandal, bit of juicy scandal. So do we want to go into, do you want to elaborate a bit more about, because rarely I'm a comedian and you're an actor, and rarely, I would say in both our respective professions, do we actually meet Christians.
Oh, well.
Do you meet other Christians in the field of acting?
Well, I'm not evangelical in the sense that the first thing I say is, "Are you a Christian?"
Yeah, but how did it come up when we were talking? How did that?
I can't remember.
Maybe I think it was something you said that I was like, "Are you a Christian?"
Well, yes, you occasionally. You can, if you listen to people, you can fairly pick up things about going to church.
Sure.
Which is not the same as being a Christian, of course. But there's things you listen out for, like any group. Like the Freemasons or whatever, you listen to the code words.
Secret handshakes.
Without even having to.
To explain to somebody, you say you're not of the judge not school, which I think a lot of Christians nowadays feel that they have to preface everything. I'm one of the good ones, kind of thing.
No.
Or we are an accepting type. But if you had to get to the theology of Christianity,
I've got the wrong cup of tea. I've got the one.
It's all right.
I've got the one that I bought here from the church. The other one, but from Pret, which who very kindly got me on the way here.
Exactly.
This is from the church.
Which one's better?
I haven't tried this one yet. Yes. But this hasn't got Starbucks in the press or anything.
So the theology of Christianity, do you actually believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God?
Yes, I do. And the best upsum of what a Christian means I ever heard was somebody saying, "Love God and love your neighbour," and that's it.
From what I understand, those are the two commandments that Jesus actually collapsed the 10 into 2.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Are you familiar with the verse from St. John? Because my favorite verse in the whole Bible, and I can't say that I'm a Christian,
right?
But I do believe in Christendom. I believe in edifices such as this. I believe in a high liturgical service.
Yes, okay.
I believe there's a certain, I don't know how to phrase this a lot of times, there's a certain, the beauty of the human endeavor and the nature of human life itself is very closely connected to the story of Christ and the disciples and the early martyrs, I think.
Right, okay.
Would you disagree with that or agree with that?
I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean.
That there's something unique that I happen to believe that religion, the progress of Western religion reached its apex in Christianity. In the sense that if you take it how Blake saw it, that Blake saw Christ as this liberator who basically showed us how it was to be done.
Yeah.
That's it. Now we're free from death. We're free from these mental constraints of the five senses, even space and time. We're here to transcend it all.
If Blake was alive now, he would definitely be declared insane and given Bill.
Still.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he would.
Who taught Blake to write? His brother, who'd been dead for 5 years. And yes, so Blake's not the best example, I would say, of an ordinary everyday Christian.
No, of course not. But in your estimation, was he a Christian?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
He definitely was, but he was also insane.
So maybe the worst examples of Christianity are those we should be aspiring to look to for the real Christianity. I mean, was Blake the real Christianity?
Yep. Yes, well, I didn't think there's one real Christianity. It's how you behave to others. You should show your... There used to be a form of evangelism which says that you shouldn't say to someone, I'm a Christian. You should wait for them to come up to you and say, how can I have such peace as you have in your life?
Yes.
So personally, I think that's pretty unlikely.
Actions speak louder than words.
Definitely.
Faith without works is dead.
These people who spend their lives, or give their lives doing work for others, that's not to say it's only Christians who do that, of course.
Sure. There's a Corbyn lot as well, the atheistic labor. We're not going to get political on here.
No.
Now, what do you, do you believe art can be a substitute for religion? Or Christianity?
Well, if we're quoting famous Catholic writers, G.K. Chesterton said, when a man stops believing in Christianity, he doesn't believe in nothing, he believes in everything.
That's very true. I didn't know that was Chesterton. That is really good. Yeah.
So yes, so you can say, oh, I'm spiritual, or I do my mantras every day, or well, mantras, of course, cherry picking from other religions.
Sure.
So I read the zodiac, or I go and smile at a tree or whatever. I'm sure you absolutely love that sort of thing.
You know what? I can be given over sometimes to.
Jenny, tree hugger. I would have thought.
Not a tree hugger.
Absolutely.
No, but I can be given a love for nature, certainly. A serenity that comes only from being in isolation in nature, I think. You know, one of the quotes from Blake that I did not use, and it used to be one of my favorite quotes of Blake, and I did not use it at all in the documentary, was where man is not, nature is barren. And I think the reason I didn't use it was because I think for all of those years I had been misinterpreting that, because I thought Blake was saying that the creations of man are actually, because they follow a cycle of man begets creation, begets creation, is actually a more natural process than nature, quote unquote, nature is itself. And I think I was misreading that.
So did Blake know about Linnaeus?
I'm not sure he did. I can't say one way or the other. Do you want to elucidate this?
Well, Linnaeus was the first chap to sort of take nature and put it up a lot. The first. I do apologise for all you classicists out there. And a very 18th century way of dividing up the world, and the watchmaker theory, of course. For those
he wasn't a deist. He was very anti-deist.
Yes, but he cut up nature and made it all into nice, neat patterns. Whereas what Blake was saying about nature left to run wild, and that old joke about the man's saying to the gardener, "Look what God can do, little help," and the gardener says, "See what it's like when God had it to himself." The idea of it's man that puts it in nice straight lines and plants things in colours. Yeah.
Well, Blake did believe in he was very emphatic about the need for the thick boundary line, the defining line that was man's ability to create and to mark out his individuality, if not leaving his mark on the world, but also a sense of like, I have been here, I have conquered this part of space and time. Which is a bit egotistical, but then again, I mean, if we are all that one grand man, this is where pantheism meets egotism, because Blake believed, and when I converted to Catholicism years ago, my godfather at the time said, every time you take the Eucharist, you're not just taking the body of Christ, you're taking the body of everyone who's ever taken the body of Christ. Have you?
That's an interesting theory.
So it's individuality.
Well, it's not so
with
pantheism
as well.
What he's saying wasn't pantheism, but there was. I think it's the other way around in the lower churches. They say you they give out all the bread and the wine, and you say the bread is to prove it's all individual for us, and then we all drink together,
right?
Because it's all remember it's all of us together, all of us ever were. And there's another quote from the Screwtape Letters about the says the church is an army going on for all time, terrible with banners. It's probably a quote from something else I can't remember.
Yeah, no, I think that is Screwtape.
Yeah, but I mean, he's probably quoting something earlier.
So the church is a communal army.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're part of an army?
Yes, that's a metaphor, which I'm quite happy to say. A metaphor crushing against sin, the world, and the devil.
Yeah. What is an example of sin? I mean, if you had to just...
Well, sin is turning away from God and doing things that you shouldn't do.
Is it true that the word sin comes from an earlier word that means to miss the mark?
I don't know. It might do. It might do.
What is it? If you had to pick a modern example, a specific modern example of what you would consider sin?
Well, that's just delving into my psyche.
Is it?
Yes, of course it is. You either want me to say sex or violence or politics?
No. I'm thinking things like this. Here's an example of what I think is a cultural sin, if not a theological one. I think the proliferation of machines. I think the fact that we are slowly replacing people with machines, I think is a sin.
Oh no.
Yeah, because we're selling out our own humanity. I think people need people as much as
Do you think it's on a... You're not having a scribe writing us all down, are you? You're not sending us... If anyone wants to tune into this podcast, they don't rush around you and say, will you please explain exactly what we said?
I know, but I would like to believe I'm using this in moderation. See, once this is done, you and I are going to go outside, and we're going to see the sunshine and look at St. Paul's and interact with fellow humans.
Cycle home.
This is only 1 hour of the day.
Yes.
But we're talking about people's jobs being replaced. Sainsbury's. I mean, we all know this is happening.
Well, I think it's
Tesco.
Jobs done by. If you want to go on a journey, you can either take a horse or you can take a train. I'd much rather take a train.
But the people run the trains.
Not as many as it takes to take them all there by horse. They train for the people up to Coventry by horse thing.
I thought that was Jennifer Aniston. Remember her?
Yes, I was in. Well, I can't say I was in a certain stage production with her.
Well, Jennifer Aniston.
Grabbed her arse.
What you want her arse?
It was part of the story.
Okay.
But we're been recording.
Oh, sure. Let's move on to the films of Peter Greenaway. I went through. No, I think it's a good segue.
From that lady over there.
From her to Peter Greenaway. Jennifer Aniston was never a Peter Greenaway film, but
no. But spectacular number of people were. Jim Davidson, David Morrissey,
Ian Dury.
Yep. Have we stopped?
Yeah, we stopped. Yeah. Because I was after the Blake film. I don't know if you know this or not, but I hit a very big emotional bottom.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Most of it was because you were one of the first people to actually watch the film.
No, I watched it as soon as you sent it to me. I love films with me in it.
Yeah, it was really because we weren't getting any feedback. And we'd spent 7 months on this thing. When it was done, we kind of, I guess, naively expected that there was going to be this great queue of people wanting to see a psychedelic journey into the mind and works of William Blake. And it became very clear that we were in a social media. I'd forgotten. I'd spent so much time in the 18th century. I forgot that we were in the 21st century where people were just the sound. They could only operate in sound bites and tweets, and they could not finish the film.
Well, the film.
Whereas you finished it within an hour or so. I mean,
the film's lots of little sound bites and tweets, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it's an assemblage. It's an hour and 40.
I was watching the Drowning by Numbers the other day.
No, go just real quick.
And,
I don't know how many people are familiar with Peter Greenaway.
It's a Peter Greenaway film.
And just to say that I don't know how it came up in conversation, but I think when we shot the scenes that you were in, you alluded to you being a Peter Greenaway fan. I said that I was a Peter Greenaway fan, and that this has been an ongoing thing. I've been wanting to get you here to sit down and talk about the films of Peter Greenaway for a while. So go on. Drowning by Numbers is one of Greenaway's films.
Drowning by Numbers, and I was amazed at the length of the takes. They're almost stage-like. They go on, whereas your Blake film was very quickly cross-cut.
Oh yeah, jumped. Short attention span.
Yeah.
But all sewn together. We were aiming for a Pink Floyd The Wall of William Blake.
Okay.
Yeah. So Drowning by Numbers. You want to start with that one?
No, I'm happy to start with which one you were.
Well, I think that's it's an amazing film.
It is. It's my favorite.
I saw it about 6 months ago. From what I remember, the story is.
Well, never mind. It's not a story-led. It's not a story-led film.
Oh, I think it very much is.
It's more to do with style and substance and games and illusions and cinematography and music.
But there's 3 women.
Yes.
Right. And
They're
one by one they murder men.
Joan playwrights, Natasha Richardson and Jolie Richardson.
Yeah.
And who's the one in the Barry?
I forget.
That's a good start, isn't it?
Well, no. I mean, these are all riffing. I don't like these to be too studied. I like the bit of cinema verite to what we're doing today. Which is funny because the Greenaway is completely anti-cinema verite.
Oh, isn't he? Yeah. He films in that particular in Drowning by Numbers. It's all filmed in the golden hour. He filmed the golden hour and dawn, which made it also be called the golden hour.
Yeah.
And it's beautifully shot by Sasha Vianney, and looks like the old Kate Greenaway Edwardian illustrations.
Mm-hmm. Just I'm going to diverge from you though. I do think it's a story driven.
Okay.
You have three women. Each of them kills their husbands. And they get the coroner. Who's the local coroner of this village?
It's Boyson Baxter's chap, who is gets a job.
But they keep getting
and the captain of Titanic in Titanic.
Okay, they keep getting this coroner to cover up their murders, and he thinks he's going to get away. The truth is, they end up drowning him as well, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So the man, it's about 3 bloodthirsty women.
No, it isn't.
Who use a
that's just what you use. That's just your interpretation of it.
But each one of these women kill their husband or their fiance.
No,
and then they use this man to cover up their crimes, and then they kill him. And
they're all husbands. No, they use the coroner to cover it up. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's not bloodthirsty. You're scared of women.
No. No. Very.
No. Strong.
No. Are they strong women? I think they're
They are very strong.
Okay, so let's go through it. The first woman,
Jolie, is
she was
playwright.
No,
her husband's Brian Pringle,
and she was cheating. He was cheating on her. He was.
Yes, with the Sunday school teacher, Nancy.
He was a scumbag.
Whose name I forget.
She let him drown.
She drowned him in a bath.
From what I need to see it again. I think she let him drown.
No, she drowned him in a bath.
Okay, but he was a scumbag.
He's we don't know, do we?
Well, no, he was screwing around.
Played by Brian Pringle, a great British character actor.
Okay. Then the second woman was the one that lived on the beachfront, right?
Whose name I can't remember.
Yeah. Now she killed her husband because he didn't want to have sex with her, right?
Yes, a bit.
He didn't have a sexual appetite, so she killed him.
Yeah.
The third
drowns him in the sea.
And the third, the youngest of them,
who married a very young David Morrissey.
She killed her fiance just because the other two did.
No, she grew tired of him.
She grew tired of him.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
3 weeks of marriage.
It's the same thing, though. Getting tired of somebody or doing it because your sisters did it. It's one and the same.
I'm wondering if that's David Morrissey's only nude scene.
It's a great film. But let's go back to
there are all sorts of wonderful British character actors way down the credits. Mm-hmm. One of the runners who witnesses the crime is Eddie Temple Tudor. Mm-hmm. Janine Dubitsky wears a bathing costume as the widow, and Kenny Ireland is the policeman investigating the crime. Mm-hmm. And all the characters.
And there's a little boy with these elaborate games.
Yes, it's all full of games.
Yeah.
And if you watch very closely, unbelievably closely, there are exactly 100 things in Magic's bedroom that begin with the letter C. And also in Little Boy's.
And C being the Roman numeral for.
No, yes.
100, yes.
And the numbers, famously, the most famous and easy game to play is that the numbers 1 to 100 appear in order all the way through.
Yep.
Sometimes in dialogue, but mostly appearing on the screen, which was a great game when it came out.
Now, my first exposure to Greenaway was, of course, at the age of 21. I was seduced by an older woman, and I was going to turn it into an anecdote. one of these days we'll make videos, but she put on the Cook, the Thief, the Wife, and her lover, and then halfway through she said I'm going to give you head. And I said, okay, that's fine. Because I wasn't really into the movie. And I revisited that movie lately.
Yes.
And I don't think it's his best. It's his most well-known.
It's not his best, no.
And I was telling you into Pratt that I think it's the fact that it was his most widely praised film, or most widely recognized,
well, he thinks
is related to the fact that it's not his best. It's certainly not his most unique film.
He thinks the film that George remembered for is Draftsman's Contract.
That's what he thinks is his best.
Yeah, that's what he's always saying on that.
Let's step back a little bit, because so I left Greenaway alone for a while, because you don't stumble into Greenaway as you would like a Truffaut. Or so I mean, if you're going to study French cinema, for example, you have to stumble across Truffaut at some point. Mm-hmm. But you don't with Greenaway.
I don't know.
And here's how I found him. I rented it was the series Bottom.
Oh,
yeah, with A.W.
Yes, okay. And that's in Hammersmith.
In America. Oh yeah, it was the bench up there. Yep, Hammersmith.
That's where it's supposed to be.
And there was a video store in San Francisco that had just VHSs, because you couldn't get Bottom in the States, and it was something that somebody had dubbed over something else. I rented that video, and after the series was over, it began about a quarter of the way through the falls.
Right.
So it was that magical feeling of the Rick Mayall, Adrian Edmondson stuff that had been dubbed over this video. That was done. There was a little bit of static. I might have been stoned. I was laying on the couch, and then all of a sudden it picked up with the falls. And my mind was obviously blown, and I was just obsessed with this film. If you just feel free to tell us, what is The Falls?
The Falls is a 3-hour film, and it's lots of little, is it 100? 100 little stories? It's 100 little stories.
I think it's 96.
I haven't seen it since VHF days. And it's about the people whose surnames begin with F-A-L-L. Mm-hmm. And it's
F-A-L-L-S, isn't it?
F-A-L-L. Yeah.
Just F-A-L-L, okay.
And they're allegedly taken at random, and Britain, or possibly the world, is just having a VUE of violent unknown events. Mm-hmm. And there's all sorts of stories about birds. And the same with Drowned by Numbers, it's just water. In the falls, there are just birds and flights and cameras and things. They're possibly the cameras.
It's all presented as a series of mini biographies.
Yes.
And it's in the wake of this violent unknown event, the VUE, and it's never really explained what that is.
No.
The epicenter was in West London on the Goldhawk Road. We know that.
Goldhawk.
On the Goldhawk Road.
He only says that because it's the name of the bird.
Oh, I didn't realize it. Yeah, Goldhawk Road. That's right. There's all sorts of bird references, and some of these biopics are mini biographies are funny. Some are terrifying. Some are prosaic. Some are long. Some are short. And it's presented as if it's just kind of a video catalog of this event.
Yes.
And he does something completely different. With form there. It's a 3.5 hour film. I used to have it. I wish I still did.
I got it on VHS, but not on DVD. Though I do remember him giving an interview saying, "You have my permission to stop at any time. Don't have to watch it in one go."
I think she's going to relocate us again. That's okay. We can pause it.
Cut.
Yeah, love.
Commercial break.
Guys.
Yeah.
Again, can you move on that side?
Can
This part of
we do the other
church.
side? So
No, because I need to close this part, mop and clean everything.
Okay. Yeah, well.
But you have a sofa there or
Commercial
table
break.
or thing.
Yeah, okay, right. Sounds good. And we're back. We have a special guest. You don't mind a bit of irreverence, do you?
No. But it's only a picture.
I was terrified of Jesus when I was a kid because my mother she was a window shopper for certain denominations. She would 1 week she would be a Baptist, and then she would get upset at some woman in church, so the next week she'd be a Methodist. So Jesus was always kind of I associated with gossip and bitchiness, and then she used to say things like, "Jesus sees everything you do,"
Yes,
as a bit of a threat.
Oh.
And then one day I said, "What is Dad?" Because I noticed that he never went to church, and he smoked and he cursed, and she said, "He's a Catholic." And I said, "I think I want to be a Catholic." And then once I finally went to a mass, I thought it is kind of cool with all the
Yes,
this and the beads and the incense and then high Anglicanism is a good substitute, I suppose.
So it's quite low church to have a sign in your dining room or kitchen saying Christ is the unseen.
Christ is a what?
Christ is the unseen guest at every meal,
Yeah.
the unseen listener to every conversation.
Yeah. That's low church.
Much more Methodist than Baptist.
Let me ask you this, because we're in a church right now, and although I dearly love the fact that we're allowed to just apparently just come in here and just talk about Peter Greenaway.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the tea was affordable, was it?
Yes, £2. That's very nice.
It's not bad. Although bread is half that price.
Yes, but this is presumably to help. If you think how much your house keeps to needs an upkeep, and then multiply that by the size of this church,
Yeah.
they want to get all the money they can. Plus, this is already listed.
Do you find something a little bit sad that you're probably more likely to get people to come to church if you make it a coffee house than just having service?
No, I don't find it sad at all. I think that people, especially during cathedrals, if you ever want to sneak into the cathedral, here's a tip for you, watchers, go on a Sunday, go to the service, and then say afterwards, what's there to see, or what's that over there?
Yeah.
Because if you go on the day as a tripper to look around the building, then it's quite right you should be paying money. But if you're,
I've been to the York Minster many times.
Presumably, what happens in places like this is that they say no sitting around drinking coffee while there's a service on.
Yeah.
And I don't know about this place, but lots of places in the city or working places, you have a service very early in the morning, and you have evensong in the evening, and then you have a service on Sunday, and the rest of the time just lying empty. So you want to get as much money as you can for it.
To me, though, like St. Bartholomew's is my favorite because I love history, and it's the oldest church, 1123 A.D. To me, if you're just going into the building, you're only getting half the story. And if it is a high Anglican,
Let's put my tea.
Yeah. Should we get that on the camera?
No,
but you are drifting off the camera.
I'm drifting on the camera, but I have to put my tea.
Okay.
I'm back on.
Should we pause it?
No, it's fine.
That's good. To me, you're only getting half the story. The high Anglican service, I think, is just as beautiful as the building itself, if done correctly. If it doesn't tend to get too evangelical and emotional, I think it can be done. Although I do love a homily. I do love a well-crafted homily.
Well, of course.
What your people will call a sermon.
Yes. Well, the high Anglican service, like the Catholic service, should be the same everywhere. And the only thing that's different are the particular readings for the day, the particular hymns and psalms, and the sermon, or homily, if you prefer.
Yeah.
Lots of people like that. A lot of people like to go around the world, or around the country certainly, and say, I know when I go to church, I will do this, this, and this, and I will have this. I will have the Bible read to me in sections if I can stay here for long enough.
Your suggestion, by the way, is because the York Minster. I remember going to the York Minster, one of my favorite buildings out here. And the guy in front of me was a tourist, and he said, "How much is it to get in?" And they said, £12. He goes, "Fuck, £12 pounds, I ain't £12 getting a fucking church, I'm a motherfucker." And I said, "Look, watch me. Hello, I'm here to pray." All you gotta do is say you're there to pray.
Yeah.
And I do believe the definition of prayer is pretty inclusive. And so if my definition of prayer is staring at beautiful works of stained glass art and feeling and trying to, even just trying, having a willingness to feel some transcendence, that's praying. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I think that sounds like trying to avoid paying to get in.
There is that as well. But why?
You can pray just. I know. I just said how to get in by going to a service.
Yeah.
But you can. If you.
Yeah, you were just telling us how to skirt the issue as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Go on.
But it is. If you're saying I want to see this because it's a place of architectural or whatever beauty, that's quite right. You should pay to get in. People want things for free these days.
One of the things I've been hitting on lately is the conservative philosopher Roger Scruton.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared of the word conservative. He means.
No, I'm upset with Roger Scruton personally.
Do you know Roger Scruton?
Of course I know Roger Scruton.
Okay, well, what do you make of this?
Idiot.
He says that Romanticism, the Romantic movement, of which Blake was a forerunner, was an attempt to replace religion. not demolish it, but to keep the same transcendent aspirations that religion was aiming for. Would you agree with that? See, I happen to agree with that.
Yes.
So if I do come into a church because I want to marvel at its architectural beauty or appreciate its links to some bygone historical era, I would truly consider that an act of prayer, supplication to something greater than me. And you would disagree with that?
Well, I can see what they all mean. Wasn't Roger Schumann the first person to invent this idea, of course, but the idea of the naturalism, the romantics, Nietzsche's and that lot, was looking at mountains and saying the great beauty and the what's his name? Tommy Euler? No, not Euler. He's a mathematician. Who's the chap who did all those paintings of monks walking along?
Monks walking along.
And huge great ruined buildings and things.
I don't know.
Anyway, him. These he'll edit this and put a caption on the picture. But no, these because of course mountaineering as a sport.
We'd have in the background. We could have out of Jesus' head, "What me worry?" You know, Alfred E. Newman.
Yes.
You do know that.
Yes, I know Mad Magazine.
Just need a little irreverence here. Go on.
What me worry?
Go on, son.
Because before the 18th century, nobody climbed a mountain for fun. Nobody swam for fun either. But there was the naturalist movements of which Blake was possibly a forerunner.
Yeah, he was.
Or possibly one of the earliest people. I think he probably invented it simultaneously with the Germans. Yeah. Or perhaps his Phantom Grand Tour. I don't know how these guys were. Well, yes, Blake was working class. He wouldn't have gone on the Grand Tour. Wouldn't have met people who went on Grand Tours.
So what do you make of this? I mean, is religion, old school religion, is it compatible with romanticism, with high art? Is high art interchangeable with high religion, a high liturgical service?
Not really, no.
Okay, why not?
Well, this is the devaluation of the word, isn't it? The word religion. If you say, "Oh, I don't believe in God such as I feel so happy when I walk along on a sunny day," that's not a religion.
No, but how many people do you think do take advantage of?
Well, the middle class.
Take for granted high art, such as we're sitting in amidst them.
High art.
No, these ceilings.
This is architecture. This is architecture.
This is high architecture.
No,
certainly.
It's architecture.
This is at least a 17th century church.
It's architecture, but it's not high art.
Yeah, but it's connected to history.
Well, it's old, yes, but it's not. No, it's not good.
Well, to me, a connection to history. A connection to history is high.
Yes, but you're American.
No. It has nothing to do with that. This is an old church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been rebuilt many times.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the last standing is about, I would say, 17th century, isn't it? The bulk of this.
Don't know. There's probably a guide somewhere.
But this isn't like, I went to the yoga class today and I did my stretches and I felt.
Yeah, it is.
I felt God in the stretching.
Yes.
But does not God exist in me saying, "Hey, Peter, how you doing, my friend? Oh, my friend Peter is here today." There's a little bit of God there as well, isn't
that's a dangerous thing because that implies that atheists and people who are violently opposed to the very idea of God can't behave like that.
That they can't behave like that. They can behave like that.
Yes, I know they can. That's my point. If you say that God is just saying, "Hey, how are you?" Well, that implies that people who hate the very idea of religion and are violently atheist, that implies they can't behave like that.
But they can behave like that.
I know they can. That's why.
So there's a little bit of God in them as well.
No, that's.
So you don't believe there's any God in them?
I'm saying that's why you can't say there's God in being nice to people, because anyone can be nice to each other.
Now, see, I think you and I would disagree with that. I don't necessarily think you need a church.
No, you don't need a church.
I like the church because of its aesthetic value.
Yes, that's true.
And maybe that makes me half a. Would I be? Let me like where I come from. I think churches are ugly. Those mega churches with the storefront.
Oh yeah.
Hideous. And I could not even comprehend even attending an Easter service at one of those. And I'll tell you, if St. Bartholomew's wasn't so old, I wouldn't go. If the Anglican service wasn't stretching back to the time of Henry VIII, I wouldn't go.
Well, if this place burned down,
Yeah.
and they had to hold it in a quick reconstruction, that wouldn't make it faith any less true.
It would make my faith.
Well, there we are. Shouldn't it?
Although my faith is always shaken.
If your faith is based on these,
it's built on sand,
rocks and stones.
Yes,
sand, carbon molecules.
Now let's. We promised.
No. You can. The church is the people inside it, as we were saying in part one before we got moved on.
Yeah.
About the going back to history, terrible is not with Baroness.
Yeah.
And of course there is the argument saying, why should we have such a beautiful church, such a high maintenance church, when there are poor people about? And the rather glib answer is, the poor will be always with you. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Well, that's Christ's words.
They are, but they're misquoted and they're taken out of context.
Wait. Let's slow that down. So Christ says, because the story is, she washes his feet with this expensive ointment, and then Judas says, "Hey, where'd you get the money for the ointment? What are you wasting money on his feet for? We should be caring for the poor." And Jesus says, "The poor you will have with you always. Me, I'm leaving soon." So to that fact.
Yes.
Why is that misquoted? How is that misquoted?
Well, it's misquoting to say that's why we should build a lovely church, and why we should have repair the stained glass windows when they break, rather than give the money to the poor.
So what is Christ saying now?
Oh, he's saying that he is not going to be there for much longer. We can't say when we're saying I've got to restore this church, because the poor have always with us. You're taking his words out of context.
I'm not sure Jesus was the Son of God.
Oh, right, okay.
So I'm not a Christian. I'm not sure he is the Son of God. But he clearly existed. And sometimes I get into arguments with people who...
yes, it's true.
No, but there's people out there, they say, like, well, he was just modeled after another story that came before. There's this Joseph Campbell approach to Christianity, as if it's just another series and a succession to the same story.
Yes.
And yet I always argue that nobody, especially back then, given what a ball ache it was to write something, would have written about a man who didn't exist. He clearly existed.
Well, it wasn't a ball ache to write things about it. It's possibly a ball ache to discover them years later.
Yeah.
But
you wouldn't invent something back then. Like
lots of the things that Jesus said were rabbinical sayings at the same time.
Sure.
So somebody has actually written down these other rabbinical sayings.
Yeah.
And the idea of fundamentalism is only 100 or so years old, 150 at the most. And
fundamentalism is
fundamentalism saying what's in the Bible is absolutely true to the letter, and anything that's not in the Bible.
And you're not a fundamentalist.
I am not a fundamentalist.
Good.
I know the difference between poetry and whatever, and history, I suppose. History is written by the winning side anyway, even in the Bible.
History is written by the winners.
History is always written by the winners.
Now, you know that phrase has been abused. That phrase has been used to get people to give up before they even try. As in San Francisco, that was quoted to me all the time, like, history is written by the winners. So that it seems to be implied, well, like, don't even root for the winners. Sometimes I think, I believe in providence. I do believe in providence.
An American was telling me off the other day because...
I'm sorry for that.
Because they say the proof is in the pudding.
Yes.
Which is a stupid saying. And I was saying, well, yes, but in this country we all know the real saying, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And if you're going to get it wrong, why is it our fault?
The proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Yes.
In other words, it comes down to the taste.
Yes. It means the only way you can tell if it's good pudding or not is by eating it.
It is to eat it, yes.
Whereas apparently in America they say the proof is in the pudding, which doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So yes, but history is written by the winners. That means that if your side gets defeated, you say, aha, obviously we had turned away from God, or obviously we're being punished by God.
Yeah.
Or it was a good thing.
Divine right of kings.
Yeah, that's a bit different. That's completely different.
Well, no. I mean,
it is completely different.
No. The notion of the divine right of kings is, I'm Henry VII. I defeated Richard III. Therefore, it's divinely ordained by divine providence that I rule.
Well, we won't go into that in a minute.
No, I'm not slagging it off. I'm just saying that has been used.
Yes, but the way the English said, was when the Spanish Armada came, they were all defeated and we were the best, and God won't allow any English people England's being invaded.
What about a duel? What about a duel?
We just carefully,
A duel, for example,
ignored.
or a jousting tournament.
Well,
It was always implied
being
the gods
invaded.
on the side of the victor.
No, it doesn't at all.
Oh yeah.
But the
If you and I had a debate, and we decided to settle it by joust,
yes,
the implication in the era of the Crusades was that if I defeated you, God was on my side.
no,
And then the proof was in the defeat of Peter at the lists.
no. So it's completely untrue. It's so untrue. There are so many things wrong with that. I don't know where to begin. But there.
I'm not
To
saying.
go back to what I was saying before you interrupted me.
I'm not saying that that's right.
If
I'm
you
saying
say-
that that's how that was viewed.
If you look at these British histories, especially up to about 100 years ago when we still had the Empire, you say that you just carefully ignore the fact that, for example, we lost the 100 Years' War,
Sure.
and they carefully ignore the Dutch sailing up the Medway and all this sort of thing. You say, well, the gods on Rome, we just defeated them. So history is always written by the winners, or by your side.
Yeah.
And the reason it's written, and so if you have a temporary look, if you do lose, it's just a temporary setback. And you can say, if you're right in the Bible, you say it was obviously our punishment.
I'm not.
If you're writing the history of your country, you're American, so you say, hooray, Christopher Columbus came and found this country. And then you can say, and then the cowboys came and killed off all the Indians who wouldn't share their land.
Not every Indian tribe was very nice either.
Well, no.
There's this notion that the Indians were nice little peaceful people that never hurt anybody in the world. They all got along together. Tribe upon tribe.
Well, yes, no.
I'm not excusing what people like Buffalo Bill did.
Well, that's totally untrue as well. But
It tends to be very black and white on either side.
no,
But there were some vicious.
there were. But the whole idea that the Americans
I say this about
kill everyone.
the Palestinians as well. Well, we're not going to get too
How
much.
many people are going to watch this? Are we going
About
to get?
average of 50.
We're going to come and get killed. Are we?
No, we're all right. No, but there's a certain notion of like, well, oh, look who moved in next door, which we would recognize as a racist thing, and I think that's what the Palestinians have done with the Jews. Like, oh my God, look who moved in next door.
There are no good guys in the.
And then it's the same thing with certain Indian tribes. It was like, who are these? What are these pioneers doing on our land? Look who moved in next door. Boom, boom, boom. Or they weren't all like that, but
and it's carried on. The famous Mount Rushmore. That's an Indian. That's
a mountain.
Famous sacred site.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know that. I've never been.
And the American and even into the 1930s, they were desecrating it by painting pictures of the chiseling away.
And you know the Grand Canyon was an ancient white man's site. It was all made out of presidential faces, and then the Indians came along and turned it into a big canyon. Now I did promise the kids some Peter Greenaway, because this is mostly 16-year-old Taylor Swift fans who watch this. And I did promise them some Peter Greenaway. Now we were talking about
I've sung Naked with Ed Sheeran. Does that count as?
We're talking about the fall.
16-year-old.
I said once it was a little social media poll. I wanted to see who would get the answer to this question.
These days.
I said, who is the James Joyce of cinema? And a lot of people threw out various answers, but it took a good 3 days before somebody said, is it Peter Greenaway? And I said, yes, it's Peter Greenaway. He is the James Joyce of cinema.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay. Why not? Does the man not operate with his own encyclopedia? He operates by his own.
I love
rules.
the way that you took 3 days for them ignoring all their answers and then said, "You've got to get the answer." I think this is.
Wait, what? That is the correct answer. He part of Greenaway. Let me just.
How about Jean Renoir?
I don't think Renoir has what I mean by that with Greenaway. Renoir's lovely, but what to me makes Greenaway like Joyce, as Joyce is to literature, Greenaway is to cinema, is because it's not just the films of Greenaway. It's not just the aesthetic product of the films. It's the very rules he sets for himself. As you say, the numbers 1 through 100 appearing through Drowning by Numbers.
Yeah.
The appearance of C, the fall, the very. Not only is he going to write a movie about a violent unknown event.
At least 10 directors who are more like Joyce than Greenaway.
Give me 3.
Michelangelo Antonioni, Louis Buñuel.
Buñuel, I might give you.
Thank you.
Antonioni, I couldn't. Antonioni is about scope.
It's about change writing to his own rule. I'm still going to say Jean Renoir. I disagree with it. How about Cecil B. DeMille, who practically invented proper cinema?
DeMille did invent a form.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when Joyce set out, for example, with his schemata in Ulysses to say, I'm going to write a book about everything that takes place in 24 hours, where each book corresponds to a body part, a chapter of the Odyssey, a very
different style.
schemata. And so when you see something like The Falls or Vertical Features Remake, which is also in that mold of a director saying, not only on its surface, if I describe the plot to you of The Falls, you say, oh my gosh, this sounds like a sci-fi movie. It's a violent, unknown event, has something to do with birds. And you go, wait a second, that's not it though. Even the form is altered to be a directory of 96 mini-biographies of people whose names, when you hear the word Falls, you think of Niagara Falls or something like that. But there's people whose names are like Fallsboro, Falsati, weird names.
And often the falling in the film, jumping off the Eiffel Tower.
And exactly, even that, falling but flying, dreams about flight. I see a man who's doing what James Joyce did in Ulysses, with scope and basically setting his own schemata, constructing his own schemata and then living by it. You still disagree?
I'm still disagreeing, yes.
Now, Buñuel, I wanted to, because Buñuel happens to be my favorite.
He's good, isn't he?
And
good Catholic writer. Well, that's why nothing has got in contact with James Joyce. They're obsessed with Catholics, even though
they want to reject the church, but they still can't let it go.
Can't. A twitch upon the thread. I find it fascinating that when G.K. Chesterton, Father Brown, says that it says it's a priest will get the worst criminal back by a twitch upon the thread, he means it's a good thing.
Say that again. Slowly.
In Father Brown, G.K. Chesterton says that a Catholic priest can bring back the worst sinner in the world by a twitch upon the thread, and he means it as a good thing.
Okay.
And again, when they quote it in Brighter Risted, they mean it as a good thing. But I bet there are plenty of people. What's that Woody Goldberg thing about the nuns?
Woody Goldberg?
Not Woody.
Woody Allen?
No, Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg.
What's the one about the nuns?
Oh, Sister Act.
That's the one.
Yeah. That's about Thomas More, the life of Sir Thomas More. Isn't it?
That one.
Yeah.
And I love the bit when I've only seen it once, but when the nuns are trying to get across the country and they haven't got any any money, and they find a man who's a plane or.
Is this really a good movie?
No, it's an awful movie.
Yeah.
And they find a man.
How do you go from Peter Greenaway to Whoopi Goldberg?
Well, stop talking, and I'll tell you. And they say to this. And they say to this man, surely you remember being brought up by nuns when you were a child. Won't you give us your aeroplane? And I really wanted him to say, yes, I remember nuns beating me when I was 5 years old, and I wanted nothing to do with nuns.
Yeah.
But there we are.
Really?
That would have been
because when you said Joyce left Ireland as another dude, and he couldn't stop writing about Ireland either.
Yep, that's true.
And apparently he hated it, and he had to leave, but he was obsessed with Ireland, obsessed with Catholicism.
Yes.
Did you ever see that Obscure Object of Desire?
Yep.
Buñuel's last film.
Yes.
I was married at the time. Watching that with my wife at the time. We were both.
And you were lusting after both the women, were you? Yes.
I was stoned out of my gourd, and this is how stoned I was. At the end of the film, I said to my wife, I said, "Did you notice when that woman was bitchy? She looked totally different than when she was nice." And she goes, "It's two different
actresses."
Yeah.
And you hadn't noticed.
I did. I was that out of my mind. But see, that's with Buñuel, it never would have occurred to me that a man would cast two women for the same role, depending on where we were emotionally with the characters. That's his brilliance. So that's why I would consent.
So brilliant, you didn't notice it.
I was out of my gourd on drugs, but I would suggest. So when you say that Buñuel is a contender to be the James Joyce of cinema, that's the one I would afford a little bit of that as well. But Greenaway to me is the man who. Part of the beauty of Greenaway is watching a man follow his own rules, his own encyclopedic rules he sets for himself.
Yes, but lots of people do that.
Not to the extent that he does. I mean, the Falls is a movie that in anybody else's hands, if you gave them a violent, they would turn it into the sappiest, stupidest CGI
Bird didn't have CGI in those days.
Violent unknown event.
Yeah.
Not in 1980. But if I went to somebody now and said, "Hey, I need you to make a movie about this thing where people are affected by birds by some violent unknown event," these very unimaginative minds are going to turn that into a run-of-the-mill sci-fi
Well, that's
film.
Hollywood for you, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Now let's. Go on.
Look how they remade The Wicker Man. Look how they remade.
I won't even watch remakes. I'm morally opposed to remakes.
What about the Humphrey Bogart version of Big Sleep? That's a remake. Haha.
You son of a bitch. Is that really a remake?
Yep.
What, 1946?
Yes. At least.
You know how to whistle just blow?
That's at least that's haven't happened off, but never mind.
But yeah,
That's a different
you
film.
know your stuff, yeah.
But it's at least the third version.
The Big Sleep. I'll be damned. And I know you could say too, like, well, you watch movies that were books. And, yeah, I know.
And there's, well, that's.
But there was no need to remake The Wicker Man. The Wicker Man was a perfect horror film.
Well, I wouldn't.
In
go
an
as
age
far
where
as that.
horror was at its apex, the 70s was an apex.
There's a lot wrong with The Wicker Man, but
Original?
Yes.
I disagree. I think it's near perfect. It's crystalline perfect.
It's very clunkily directed, I think.
And we got 6 minutes here to go.
Have we?
I should, because I do an hour and then just cut it off no matter what. Now,
Does that include the bit where you were carrying it round looking for a place to sit down?
no, because that was on pause.
Was it?
So this has been a cumulative. So anyway, now I saw a lecture with.
Well, can I just say that
Yeah.
in 1996, to celebrate the 100th anniversary of films, which the Germans did a year before we did, because we British think that Friese Green invented the films. They asked all the people who'd ever worked as film critics, which I had once. And
You were a film critic.
I was a film critic, and they said, "What's your 10 favourite films of all time?" And well, the usual point of this story is I put on Aguirre de Zorngottes, but I put up below Carrying On the Kaiser, hee hee.
Well, Aguirre, The Wrath of God.
But yes,
Yeah.
it's a German film.
Yeah. Herzog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I put on below Carrying On the Kaiser. But Peter Greenaway is the only director who had 2 films in my top 10:
And what were they?
The Drowning by Numbers and Draftsman's Contract.
Yep. Both excellent films.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the trouble is that now it's gone on record. I always feel very worried about saying my films, because they'll say, "Well, it's not what you said in 1996." So I have gone on television and print many times saying my favourite film of all time is Matter of Life and Death. Americans call that Stairway to Heaven.
I've told people my favorite film is Dog Day Afternoon
Okay.
because of the fact that it was a true story, the fact that just the bizarrevity of it all, and it's a tour de force of acting.
It's not a bad film.
But the most important film, the most prophetic film, is Network. And I still believe it to this day. That movie predicted everything culturally that was going to happen. Now let's close with it. We got about 4 minutes left. I just want to get your quick opinions on this. I saw a lecture with Greenaway a few months ago when I was hitting bottom. Because really, when you brought up Greenaway,
Yes.
I took solace in that.
Hooray.
I don't know if you can. I don't know why you brought it up. I took solace in that, knowing full well that there are a lot of people out there who wouldn't know what the fuck to do with a Peter Greenaway film.
Okay.
And I thought, just take solace in that. And I was watching a lot of his lectures on YouTube. He said, I think it might have been one, "The cinema is dead, long live cinema." He acknowledged that cinema is dead. That people simply are, this egalitarianism with technology and the internet or whatever, is killed off cinema. But he also says we need to build a new theatrical form. So he seemed to be optimistic that she's going to tell us we have to leave her soon. But
We're about to be thrown out, by the way.
yeah.
How old is Peter Greenaway? 'Cause I remember.
So let me just ask you.
I remember him saying in an interview that he was going to commit suicide when he was 65.
He's over. I think he's in his 70s.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that, but now he seems to be optimistic. He says he acknowledges in one breath that the cinema is dead.
Yep.
And he turns around and says that, but we should be optimistic. There's going to be something new. He says, as opera replaced, God, what did it replace? Anyway, so opera
replaced.
Vaudeville replaced opera. Cinema.
What?
Cinema replaced.
Wagner replaced opera.
The big edifices of the music halls and the opera houses was eventually replaced by the cinema, right?
And
then
replaced by recordings, but
yeah. So bit by bit, opera's gone into cinema. Cinema's gone, and it seems, for the Luddite in me, it seems like it's a bleak proposition. But he also on the heels of that,
No, you can't
he said that we should invent optimistically look for a new form to express what cinema once expressed. Is that possible, and what will it be?
Well, I don't know what it's going to be, but I think it's certainly, if these things carry on. It's not that long ago, about 100 years ago, that silent films were the greatest thing. People were talking about, we have sound, and then we had better quality colour, and at the minute we're going a bit much to the CGI, and which I think is stupid, and horrible, and kind of will be.
But why do we still
need that in 50 years' time?
But why do we still do it?
Oh, for the money. That's the word. It's a film to the business. Yeah. In the great days of the film moguls, they made films to make money.
Yeah.
But for every film that made money, they would have something which they really believed in. And those are the things which now, although they bombed at the time, they were written to be bombed. But now they say, "Oh yes, I'm a fugitive from the chain gang," and all sort of thing. And they
1930 with
they just don't do it
Paul
anymore.
Muni, right?
Yeah, but they just don't do it anymore. They say, what makes money? Let's make up the thing which is, so they have more CGI explosions and more Avengers assembling.
So say this, because it used to be
just come out today.
The mentality used to be
1 minute 6 seconds.
The mentality was this is the new thing we're looking for. Then it became. It's like this meets this, and now it literally is. What are they doing? Let's do it too, and give it a different title.
It's that's always been done.
Yeah,
that's always been done.
So you're optimistic
that
Peter Greenaway says we need to come up with a new form that will replace cinema. Live the cinema is dead. Long live cinema.
Yes, it'll be something. Well, I think that the whole idea of YouTube and podcasting and whatnot, I think that's very helpful. It's better than. It's better than even when punks used to go and sit in their garages and play tunes. Now you can actually make films and send them around the world, and that's got to be a good thing.
But how can we do it without money? The problem.
Well, you don't need money. Here we are. I'm not getting paid. Am I getting paid? No, I'm not getting paid.
I'm not either. But this is exposure, not money. And I don't think it's survive without some chiba.
It's there forever now.
And do you want to plug anything?
No.
7 seconds.
Be nice to each other.
Please love
each other.
Well,
little children love each other.
Patreon.com/Will Franken. Thank you, Peter Stanford.